Welcome to Tamer Bowling Video Ball Reviews. For all your bowling needs, check out our partner, PerfectAimBowling.com.
Today, we are testing the new Motiv Venom Shock Pearl!
We're testing on a medium, high volume 40-foot house shot and Kegel's Dead Man's Curve, a 43-foot sport shot. First impressions of the Venom Shock Pearl, it's all Motiv. It's exactly what they get right. Smooth, controlled, heavy rolling, predictable. Value, we gave the Venom Shock Pearl an A. It's a reasonably priced ball and will be usable for many bowlers on many medium to lighter conditions. Not much of a surprise there. Overall, we gave the Venom Shock Pearl an A- for house shot and a C+ for sport shot. Despite continuing the shock name, the Venom Shock Pearl actually uses the Venom Cobra core. Honestly, so what? It's a fair marketing technique and it complements the Venom Shock very well ultimately. And here's my take on the ball motion. The ball does look like it's revving up pretty quickly. It is a low RG core after all. The lower diff gives it a smooth, very readable back-end motion. What happens in the mid lane is the cover seems to be helping it dig in to show off a kind of churning mid-lane motion, ultimately yielding a smooth, rounded move to the pocket. I believe the Pearl cover is actually a bit stronger than they let on. Either way, combining this core and cover shows off what I term the quintessential Motiv motion. It never feels snappy and it really doesn't jump off the friction. It's just buttery making its move. It really is a perfect complement to the Rolly Shock Solid. Me up first, this ball's an A for my style in this condition. This is the kind of ball that offers very simple control and can probably be used the whole set. Compared to the Venom Cobra, the differences are so subtle that I definitely don't see a point for both in the bag. The funny thing is that the Venom Shock didn't match my game at all, but the Pearl, very much like the Venom Cobra, really matched up well as they do allow length while the core is churning rather than picking up so soon. I like reading the balanced transition in the mid lane as while the cover and core dance, it rarely feels like it's going to blow through the breakpoint. If it does seem to make it uphill but with soft corner leaves. Where I was playing, I had no issues getting the ball back, and in truth it's deceptively strong because misses in might bite you harder than you would expect, not because it's flippy, but because it gets into a roll a little earlier on the lane. Greg was up next, and right off the bat the Venom Shock Pearl gave him probably one of the best looks he's seen in our test house. The early rolling core and smooth cover gave him a really good read, and while his missed tendencies to get fast and blow through the breakpoint, he rarely felt that way with the Venom Shock Pearl. Really was a nice matchup with his style, rev rate, and this volume house shot. The other nice thing is that he could play the righty track very easily with this piece. It's another reason why the matchup was so good. In terms of miss room, since the ball rarely blew the break point, misses out were better for him. As with me, misses in would not hold, despite the apparent smoothness, which you would have thought it'd be the opposite. Shawn's next, and he and the original Venom Shock got along swimmingly, so the Venom Shock Pearl was right at home. As with Greg, he can play the track. Anywhere between 3rd and 4th arrow gave a really good look and great angle through the pins. The Venom Shock Pearl had good drive through the pins as well and really didn't surprise much. In testing, he usually tries different hand positions and areas on the lane to test versatility. With more direct lines, it was pretty tough to use, as hitting the friction early with this chugging, rolling core had the ball go left really quickly. And if he was a little deeper and didn't get good hand on it, kind of hit weakly with deflection at the pins. So there's a defined, what I call tunnel he can play in, but it was plenty big enough. Next up was Bryan, and it took him a little bit to get lined up, realizing it was weaker than he thought it would be for him. And his house shot is a bit more volume than some typical houses, and he can use much more ball here, to be honest. But once he moved right enough, he had a pretty good look. It was a very arcing, controlled motion for him. The challenge is being that close to the friction, a little weak to the right, and it overreacts. If he moved in just a touch, to give himself more room, it just didn't have the juice to carry. It's definitely a lighter oil ball for breakdown conditions for Bryan. Compared to the Venom Cobra, like mine, the two balls were right on top of each other. The sport shot is Dead Man's Curve. From the left side, it's got light traffic, and I wouldn't have thought it would be ready for dropping down to the Venom Shock Pearl. And while I did have to be fairly direct, I honestly had a decent look. Due to the nature of the ball, you worry it won't make it from wide misses, but you think it just might hold from in. The wide one was 5 on the deck, but hey, it did strike. And if I was starting with the rising, this is a really big step down, and in fact is even a move further outside. I would like to see this more broken down for the Venom Shock Pearl, but it did a pretty good job. From the right side, things are more broken down. Greg found a home going 22-9, and the Venom Shock Pearl again looked very good in his hands and very recognizable Motiv ball reaction shape. Greg just kept striking because he felt really comfortable with the line and the shape. Shawn was next, and he struggled to find something with the Venom Shock Pearl. With the breakdown, the reaction starts up early, so he had to get really deep, or it felt like it hooked at his feet. Maybe a bit of an exaggeration, but honestly, he had to get between 6th and 7th arrow, and while the trajectory looked fine, he was concerned about carry because of the angles. The Venom Shock Pearl is a medium light oil ball, but it really isn't very fast responding to friction, and this meant a smoother motion back to the pocket. And when you're that deep, and you need to go away from the pocket, you need quicker response to friction. And it proved to be a tricky matchup. The Venom Shock Pearl proved a bit tough for Bryan as well on this 43-foot pattern. With the breakdown and some early friction, he couldn't go direct, but as soon as he bumps just into the oil a little, the ball just doesn't have quick enough response to hit strong. He left both corners on soft pocket hits. And he made some speed and trajectory adjustments to find the line where he can pipe it straight to the pocket, but this just isn't the right matchup for Bryan on this medium longish pattern. Final thoughts. At the end of the day, just like the Jackal Rising and the Venom Shock Pearl is right in Motiv's wheelhouse in terms of the ball motion. It really is their bread and butter. They are masterful at creating smooth mid-lane churn by combining the right cover and core in those examples and yielding easy control and consistency. The Venom Shock Pearl is not super fast off the friction, but it has enough motion to be versatile for a decent amount of conditions and bowlers. I could see it working on many house conditions as well as some shorter sport patterns.
I need to tell you what Tamer Elbaga.
Everybody
likes apples.